After completion of the ancient Indian history syllabus, we are going to study about the medieval Indian history. Here, in the medieval Indian history, foreign thrones and Indian heroes. Here, a family journey through medieval India. Start with a curiosity and family story link. Imagine the curious son again sitting with his grandfather, Dadaji. I saw a photo of the Taj Mahal and heard about great kings from outside India ruling our land. Who were they? What happened to our country in the Middle years? The grandfather notes, huh, those were the times when India echoed with the voices of new rulers, foreign ideas, fierce battles, and timeless arts. Let's open the next chapter in our family album, Medieval India, Medieval Indian History. This was the era when India was ruled by dynasties like the Delhi Sultanates and the Mughals, when Bhakti saints and Sufi mystics roamed the land, and when politics, culture, and spirituality collided. Here in UPSC syllabus, medieval Indian history topics are under GS paper 1. UPSC expects you to cover the following: early medieval India, Rajput kingdoms, Cholas, Rashtrakutas, Delhi Sultanates, Vijayanagara and Bahmani kingdoms, Mughal Empire, regional kingdoms, Marathas, Rajputs, and etc., religious movements, Bhakti and Sufi, art, architecture, society, and economy of the medieval period. To remember this syllabus, there is a mnemonic that is from slave kings to marbles, domes, marble domes, Delhi echoed with foreign thrones till the empire crumbled into a stone. Let's walk through this story one brick at a time. Early medieval India, regional kings and temples. The son asked before Delhi became the center, who ruled India? The grandfather replies, kings from Rajput clans, South Indian dynasties like the Cholas, Rashtrakutas, and Palas laid the foundations of Indian power and temple building. Here, the UPSC wants you to know is you have to study about the Pratiharas, Palas, Cholas, Chalukyas, Rashtrakutas, and Chola administrations and navy, temple architecture, and feudalism and local governance. What they are going to judge, see you is UPSC asks is how did regional powers shape early medieval India? After completion of this early medieval India, we are going to study. Here comes the picture: Delhi Sultanates, the foreigner thrones began from here onwards. Dadaji says, then then came the rulers from Central Asia, slave kings, Khiljis, Tughlaqs, Lodhis. They brought new governance systems, new architecture, and centralized military. Here, what the UPSC wants you to study is a five dynasties: Mamluk, Khilji, Tughlaq, Lodi. Administrative changes, Ikta system, architectures, and role of women, slaves, and nobility. Here, what they are going to judge you is what was the structure of Delhi Sultanate rule and how did it change India. After completion of this, the foreigner invaders, we are going to study about the Vijayanagara and Bahmani kingdoms. Here, once go to the story of the family story where the grandson asked, was all power only in Delhi? Grandfather replies, "Oh no! In the south, Vijayanagara rose like a lion, powerful, prosperous, and full of temples and traditions. Here, what the UPSC wants you to study is the founders of both kingdoms, Battle of Talikota, contributions in trade, temple, building, irrigations, art and sculptures in Hampi." What they are going to ask is how did South India resist and thrive during Sultanate dominance? After completion of this South India, we are going to study the Mughal Empire, the golden dynasties in Indian region during the medieval period. That is, to understand this, go to the family story. The father adds, son, our ancestors also lived under the mighty Mughals, Babur, Akbar, Shah Jahan, Aurangzeb. They built forts, created law courts, and painted the skies with domes like Taj Mahal. Here, what the UPSC wants you to study is Babur to Aurangzeb, Mansabdari system, land revenue, Akbar's policies, architectures of the Red Forts, Fatehpur Sikri, and decline of the empire. Here, what the UPSC is going to ask is, for example, why is the Akbar seen as a nation builder? Why did the empire eventually collapse? After completion of this Mughal Empire, we are going to study the regional kingdoms, rise of resistance. The son says, but did not locals fight back? Dadaji says, yes, Marathas, Rajputs, Ahoms. They fought to protect their cultures and build strong regional identities. UPSC wants you to know about the Shivaji and Maratha administrations, Ahom resistance in Assam, Rajput pride and diplomacy, rise of Sikh power. After studying this, they're going to judge you like they're going to see that uh, how did the regional powers respond to Mughal expansions? After completion of this local administrations, we are going to study about the Bhakti and Sufi movements, voice of the heart. The mother adds gently, this was also a time of saints and love. Kabir, Mirabai, Guru Nanak, who taught peace, devotion, and equalities. Here, UPSC wants you to know is the origin and spread of Bhakti and Sufi, saints Kabir, Mirabai, Baswana, Nanak, Namdev, Sufi orders, Chisti, etc. Social reforms and religious tolerance. UPSC asked how did the Bhakti and Sufism bridge social divides? After completion of this Bhakti and Sufism, in the medieval, we are going to study about the art, architecture, and society. Coming to the story, the son admits, look at the fort and that mask. Dadaji says, yes, they combined Persian beauty with Indian soul. Arcs, domes, carvings, history written in stone. UPSC wants you to know is Indo-Islamic architecture, painting, schools, Mughal Rajput Deccan, clothing, food festival, economic conditions, trade, currency, and crafts. Now, what UPSC asks is what cultural legacies did the medieval India leave behind? Conclusion of the medieval history. So the students here, the medieval history is not just about the conquest, it's about the transformation of ideas, institutions, art and resistance from Delhi to Deccan, from forts to temple, from sword to saint. India's soul evolved in the tensions between the power and the peace. Now, after studying the medieval Indian period, there comes into the picture of a modern Indian history. Here in the modern Indian history, from empire to independence, a family journey through modern India. Here, start with the curiosity and the family story linking. Picture the curious son once again sitting across cross-legged on the floor near his grandfather's chair. Dadaji, he asked, I know about the Mughals and Delhi Sultanate, but how did India become the country it is today? When did the British come and how did we get freedom? The grandfather smiles warmly. My child, that story begins with the clash of old empires and new rulers, brave battles, bold ideas, and tearless freedom fighters. Let me tell you the tale of modern Indian history, a saga of change, resistance, and hope. Here, the UPSC syllabus in modern history was for GS Paper 1, UPSC expects you to cover decline of the Mughal Empire and rise of regional powers, early British rule and policies, East India Company. After that, revolt of 1857, the first war of independence, British policies and economic impact, social and religious reform movements, Indian national movement faces leaders and struggles, Gandhi and the freedom struggle towards independence and partitions. To remember these topics, there is a mnemonic to remember that is the Mughal Raja's crazy battles brought British policies, reforms, and freedom struggles from 1857 revolt to Gandhi's quit India. Once again, I'm going to repeat this mnemonic to remember. Please listen very carefully. That is the Mughal Raja's crazy battles brought British policies, reforms, and freedom struggles from 1857 revolt to Gandhi's quit India. Let's unfold this incredible story together. Decline of the Mughal Empire and rise of the regional powers. Ka- Once again, come to this story, family story. We will link this story with this topic. That is, the son asked, why did the mighty Mughal Empire fall? Grandfather replies, like A great tree is slowly losing its leaves. The Mughals weakened due to internal conflicts, weak rulers, and rising regional kingdoms. The Marathas, Sikhs, Nawabs of Bengal, Hyderabad, and Mysore. Here, UPSC wants you to know is factors behind the Mughal decline, rise of regional states and their significance, role of European trading companies. After studying this, what they exactly looking is like what they are going to ask is what caused the decline of Mughal Empire? How did regional powers shape the 18th century? After completion of this, we are going to study about the early British rule and company policies. The grandfather continues by the 18th century, the British East India Company had started to enormous power, first through trade, then through war and diplomacy. Here, UPSC wants you to know is expansion of British power after Battle of Plassey, 1757, and Boxers, 1764, doctrine of lapse and subsidiary alliance, economic policies, and impact on Indian society. Here, what the UPSC going to ask is how did the British policy consolidate their rule? What was their impact on Indian economy? After completion of this early British rule and company policy, we had the first war of India independence was started. That is the revolt of 1857, which is the first war of independence. The sun's eyes widened. Was there resistance? The grandfather says, yes, the 1857 revolt was a brave but fragmented uprising. Sepoys, peasants, princes, and common folk all rose against the British. What the UPSC exactly wants to know is the causes, the political, economic, and social and military major events and the leaders, Mangal Pandey, Rani Lakshmibai, Bahadur Shah Jafar, etc. After the changes in British governments, here the after studying this, UPSC wants to know is the why is 1857 called the first war of independence? What lessons did it teach? But exactly the few years back, the Indian government has announced the first war of independence as a like yeah. Uh, Yeah, the Union government has announced that the first war of independence was held on 1817, that is in Paki Rebellion. But we have to study about this. From first war of independence was started in 1857 onwards only, and later after the completion of this, we are going to study about the British policies and an economic impact. We are going to the story. Grandfather explains the post 1857, the British Crown took direct control, policies changed, land revenue system, introduced railways, and altered social fabrics. UPSC wants you to know is the land revenue systems, permanent settlement, Taitwari, Mahalwari, deindustrializations and impact on artisans, infrastructure development, railways and telegraph, social consequences of British economic policies. Here, what exactly the UPSC is looking by studying this topic is how did the British economic policies after Indian society and economy affect how the British economic policies affects the Indian society and economy. After going to study this, we are going to study on the social and religious reforms movement. The mother joins in at the same time reforms like Raja Ram Mohan Rai Aish, Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, Swami Vivekananda, and Jyotirao Phule sparked movements to change the society. Here, UPSC wants you to know is the causes and nature of reform movements, key reforms and their contributions, impact on caste, women, education, and religion. What exactly the completion of this topic? What exactly the UPSC is going to ask is how did the social reforms influence the modern Indian society? After completion of the social and religious reform movements, we are going to study about the Indian national movement, phases and leaders. Coming back to the story, the father says the political awakening came with the formation of Indian National Congress in 1885. Over decades, the freedom struggle evolved. Here, UPSC wants you to know is the early moderate phase, extremist phase, and leaders like Bal Gangadhar Tilak, partition of Bengal and Swadeshi movement, home rule movement. You are studying these topics, the UPSC exactly looking is how did the national movement evolve in the early 20th century. After completion of this, the Gandhi and the freedom struggle starts here onwards. The coming to the story, the grandfather's voice softens. Then came Gandhi, the soul of India's freedom. His methods of non-violence and civil disobedience united millions. Here, UPSC wants to know is the Gandhi's arrival and early movements. Champaran Kheda movements, non-cooperation, civil disobedience, and Quit India movements. Role of the other leaders, Nehru, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, Subhash Chandra Bose, and impact on common people. After studying this freedom struggle topic, UPSC looks like why is Gandhi called the father of nation? What were his contributions? After completion this, there is another topic that is a partitions and independence topic. Here, how did we finally get the freedom? A mix of relentless struggle, global events like World War II, and British political will lead to independence, but with a painful partition creating India and Pakistan. UPSC wants you to know exactly here is a CRIPS mission, cabinet mission plan, role of Quit India movement, Mountbatten Plan, and Partition of 1947, challenges of partition and independence. Here, what they exactly looking is what factors lead to India's independence and partition, what were the consequences. This topic was recently very important due to the Operation Sindur. Yeah, in starting of the May month, there is an operation like Operation Sindur fight between the India and Pakistan. This topic was very important in that contrast. So please have a look into this topic and go research on it and make a note of that. After completion of this, we are going to study here up to here the modern history was going to completed. All the topics were covered. So here the modern Indian history is journey from fading empires to rising nationalism, from subjugation to self-rule. It's a story of courage, reforms, revolts, and resolute hope. The making of modern India written by millions who dreamed of freedom. After completion of this Indian freedom struggles and independence, we are going to study about the post-Indian independence, that is the building a new India, a family journey through post-independence era. Here, the curious son looks up at his grandfather and asks, Dadaji, after we got freedom, what happened next? How did India grow from just a country on the map to a vibrant nation today? Grandfather smiles gently and says, my child, that story is about hope, hard work, strong ideas, and brave leaders. How who built the India? We know no- we know now. Let's open the next chapter post-independence India. Here the UPSC syllabus is topics covering is like challenges faced by newly independent India and Constitution of India making and futures, political developments, democracy, elections and parties, economic policies, planning, reforms and growth, social reforms and welfare measures, foreign policy and international relations, major events and challenges, India's scientific, technological and cultural progress. These topics are also important in GS paper 2 polity, but here also very important. Please have a look into this. To remember this topic, I have made a mnemonic like patriotic Indians form strong policies so everyone prospers. Once again, I'm going to repeat this mnemonic. Patriotic Indians form strong policies so everyone prospers. Let's explore how India crafted its path after independence. Early challenges of independent India. Here, what was it like just after freedom? It was like waking up in a new world full of hopes, but also problems, partitions, trauma, poverty, illiteracy, and divisions. Here, UPSC wants you to know is the partitions, impact, and refugee crisis, integration of princely states like Hyderabad and Kashmir, uh, This topic also very important here. The integration of princely state Kashmir. It was linked to the recent operations into the Pakistan, India and Pakistan war. Please have a look into that and make a note on that. And communal tensions and nation building challenges. Here, what exactly the UPSC was asking, like after completion of this topic, is how did India overcome the initial post-independence challenges? After completion of these challenges of independent India, there is a Constitution of India, the nation's soul. To unite this diverse land, India framed a constitution, a document that gave every citizen rights and duties. Here we are going to know is Constituent Assembly Key Frames by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, Salient Futures, Democracy, Secularism, Fundamental Rights, Directive Principles of State Policies, etc. Here, what after completion of this concept, UPSC is looking like what makes the Indian constitution secure and democratic. After completion of this Constitution of India, we are going to study about the political developments. How did India become a democracy? Through free and fair elections, the people choose their leaders. Political parties like Congress led the way, but new parties emerged too. UPSC wants to know is election commissions and electoral process, major political parties and their roles, coalition politics and regional parties. After completion of this topic, what exactly they were looking like, how was the Indian democracy evolved since independence? After the completion of this, we are going to study about the economic policies and planning. 5 years plan and their objectives, green revolution and self-sufficiency in food, liberalization and economic reforms. After completion of this, you know to understand that how did the economic policy shapes India growth. Secular reforms and welfare. Here, India worked to uplift all scheduled caste tribes women through laws and welfare programs. What UPSC wants to know here is the reservation policies and affirmative action, women's rights and social justice movements, and health education poverty elevation programs. This topic is also very important in GS paper 1 GS paper 2, like in a social justice. So please listen very carefully and make a note of these topics. Very important. Interlink this GS paper 1 post independence topic name was social reforms and welfare. This was interlinked with the GS paper 2 social justice. So please have a look into that and listen very carefully. Here, we are going to study about the reservation policies and affirmative action, women's rights and social justice movements, and health education and poverty elevation programs. After completion of this, you'll understand that how social reforms changed Indian societies. After completion of this, here the foreign policy and international relations. This topic is also very important in GS paper 2. Here the higher side, how the foreign policies was implemented, how it was started earlier before after the post independence. So please listen very carefully and make a note of that. India followed a policy of non-alignment, but also strengthened ties with the neighbors and world powers. Here, the topics we note to cover is like a non-alignment movement and its principles, relations with the Pakistan, China, USSR, role in global forums like the UN and BRICS. After completion of these topics, you will understand that what has been the character of Indians' foreign policies. After completion of this foreign policy, you are going to learn about the major events and challenges. Did India face any big crisis? Yes. From the emergency in 1975 to Mandal Commission protests and the economic crisis, India tested its democracy. In this topic, you are going to know about like emergencies and its impact, Mandal Commissions and caste politics, liberalization and challenges and reforms. After completion of these topics, you will understand that how did India navigate the political and an economic crisis post-independence. After completion of this topic, we are going to study about the scientific, technological, and cultural progress. India also soared in science and culture from space missions to classical arts. In this topic, what you're going to cover is like a space program, a nuclear test, and advances in IT and technology, cultural renaissance, and preservation. After completion of these topics, you'll understand that how India progressed in science and culture since independence. So here the completion of the post-independence that India is a strong for so post-independence India is a story of building of a young nation forging identity, democracy, and development amid challenges and trumps. From the Constitution's promise to today's progress, India's journey continues with a hope and determination. After completion of the post-independence India, here we are going to study, like we are going to look into the world history topics. Here in the world history, the world on fire and then at peace. We are tying this a global family's journey through an history. Let's look into that. The little doctor Reena walks into the living room holding a globe and asks her elder brother, Bhaiya, why did the world fight so many wars? Why did empires rise and fall? What happened before we all started living in peace? The brother, who is preparing for UPSC like us, smiles and says, Let me tell you the story of how our world